Look, yeah, it's a great example. Thank you. And I can see why it sparks a lot of conversation. It's in my mind, it's sort of delving into the psychological, and I sort of wonder, as a coach, how far can we take this? I'm sort of trying to understand that threshold where, we're giving psychological advice versus coaching.
Well, first off, we don't want to diagnose, treat, or prescribe anything. So we don't want to just assume this person has some sort of mental health disorder or this person has this condition or whatever. And the thing is, there are some overlaps, but coaching is not psychological intervention. However, that doesn't mean that coaching cannot be therapeutic. A lot of what you will do in coaching takes from CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, looking at the thoughts, behaviors, beliefs, and the feelings that intertwine all of that, and breaking it down so that we can understand, what is the person doing? Why are they doing it? This is the result and consequence. How can we help them to reshape the way that they think or believe about this situation so that they can get a better result, whether it's feeling or behaving? So there can be a lot of overlap, but ultimately we're not going to be treating anyone for psychological issues. But within an individual psychology, we're looking at their belief systems and what belief systems are driving their current experience that they're wanting to change. We can't ignore that because that's part of why they're doing and behaving in the way that they are. So it's okay to question them about their beliefs. It's okay to ask them, where did you pick this up? Usually it's going to be in early childhood development. They would have picked it up somewhere in childhood. It might have been a belief they adopted, or maybe through particular events or experiences, they learned over time that that was a truth for them because that was the consistent feeling that would result from whatever the event or experience was. So to give you context there, let's say when you were a child, one of your parents would come home from a day at work and you'd want to show them your drawing from school, and they may have most of the time said, not now, later. And often enough, if that happens, then as a child, we might interpret that as, well, mummy or daddy isn't interested in me. What's important to me isn't important to them. I just want to show them my drawing, but they never want to see it. So because that might give us a feeling of being rejected from our primary caretakers, and it might feel bad, it might feel lonely, it might feel upsetting or sad. Our prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed in those early years of life. So we don't have the ability to apply logic to interpret, what does this feeling mean? Our mind likes to try and figure out the reasoning for, why do I feel the way I feel? Oh, it must be because mummy or daddy doesn't love me, or mummy or daddy is too busy for me. They never have enough time for me, whatever it is. Classic is at school. At school, we may get up in front of the class, we may stumble through our words, we may say the incorrect word, the kids laugh at us, we feel embarrassment, we feel physical sensations of heat rising and heart rate thumping. We've entered into a stressed state. The body thinks it's unsafe to stand up here in front of all these kids because now they're laughing at me and I'm struggling to speak. And this feels really embarrassing. It's unsafe. I don't like this feeling. I don't want to do this. So we might then develop a fear of public speaking. So it might be a fear, it might be a belief, something that has given us an association between an experience or an event, the feeling that we experienced during that time, and the perception of what we interpreted that to mean, that then developed an idea or a belief about ourselves or the situation or our abilities that we've carried with us as a truth, especially if it's been, if it's an intense fear or an emotion like that, that fear can be quite pervasive into adulthood. Or if it was a recurring pattern of whenever we got upset and tried to show emotion, maybe our parents didn't have the ability to regulate their own emotions. So instead of meet us in a safe, calm state to help us, regulate our emotions by co-regulating with us, if they didn't have the skills to do that and they said, stop your crying, go to your room, I don't want to hear it, whatever it might have been, if we were shut down in how we were experiencing our feelings, if we were not allowed to express our feelings, if we were made to feel wrong because we had a feeling or it was inappropriate, then we would learn as children to swallow down our feelings, to shut up and keep them to ourselves. We might learn to not trust our adults to share how we truly feel about something because they're just going to get mad at me. So those are things that are patterned in, that we don't have to be psychologists or counselors. And look, I'm a therapist, that's my background. But one of the limitations of that was not being able to really partner with my clients and be more proactive with them in the change work. I didn't want to just sit there and listen and reflect back and not be able to, okay, what can we do about this? So as long as coaches, you're not delving into the past unnecessarily. You get what you need to know from it. You come back to the present. How is this belief from back then impacting how you show up in the world now? What is the issue now? How does this belief hold you back now, limit you now? We want to stay focused on the present. We can ask questions about the past to give us context, to give us information, but we always want to relate that to now so that we can then focus forward on how can we deal with those things that are unresolved? How can we uncover the real truth of those core limiting beliefs that you developed in childhood, but that are clearly not serving you now? How can we address them? How can we challenge them? How can we validate an alternate truth? Or how can we invalidate the inaccuracy of the way you remember something that formed a belief that isn't true? You are lovable. You are enough. You are worthy. You are smart enough. How can we help challenge the beliefs that are not serving them, that are holding them back from moving forward and having the life experience that they want, or the freedom to choose what it is that they want? How can we relate that to their current challenge and experience so we can help them ultimately move forward? That's what we want to do. Coaching helps the person move forward. Therapy wants to go dissect the past and stay there. But all that does is re-traumatizes the client, or it solidifies through the repetition of talking about it over and over and over again. And the fish was this big, but then 10 years later, the fish was this big. We don't want to do that. We don't want to give more life or strengthen the connections to the past, because the past is over and done. We can't change the past. What can we learn from it to help inform greater insight and understanding of what is happening now, so that we can make better choices and better decisions to help us move beyond that and create a better future? Because creating a better future starts now. It doesn't start in the past, because we can't change that. Does that answer the question? I mean, I probably gave a little bit more than you absolutely needed, but I think it's a valid question. And just reiterating, while it's not counseling or therapy, coaching can be therapeutic. So as long as you're not delving into unnecessary things from the past, you're just getting what you need to understand their present circumstances and situation and what they think, believe, feel now, so that you can understand their behaviors now. That's the most important thing, to then help them move beyond that.
Yeah, thank you. That was really helpful. I guess I just saw the word trauma in there that she used in her progress, and I thought, look, at what point, if we're sensing something, do we say, look, perhaps there needs to be some referral or some conversation with another treater?
Yeah, look, I've just updated a couple of the modules in Mind Body Practitioner. I put a protocol in there and I've addressed some things like that, but I'm just finishing up the emotional regulation and energy clearing short course at the moment. And I was toying with how much do I put in there about trauma or window of tolerance and stuff like that, because as soon as I finish this, I am going to be focusing on a trauma-sensitive meditation teacher training, and I'll be writing the trauma-sensitive or trauma-informed modules as part of that will be available separately, because we can't ignore that. But the thing is, remember, trauma comes in all shapes and sizes. For something to be a trauma, doesn't have to be overt. It doesn't have to be a big T trauma. We have little traumas that essentially, when you break it down, is an overwhelming sensation or overwhelming experience to the nervous system in such a way that it can't process that experience at that time. And if that happens when we're in childhood and we're in situations where it's very difficult to regulate our emotions and then regulate our nervous system, which are two different things. They complement each other, but there's two different ways to go about that. If we aren't in those situations to cultivate that ability to self-regulate, then, you know, we don't have the skills to deal with those situations that would be considered a little trauma. So that then might limit our ability to have capacity for feeling uncomfortable feelings. It might also limit our ability to be trusting in relationships. It might also create a greater sense of fear of stepping outside of our comfort zone, which exacerbates anxiety. It might put us in situations that we feel unsafe into a sense of hypoarousal, where we become so overwhelmed that we shut down. That's our freeze response. And we shut down because we can't deal with the stress of it all. And we then might fall into depression, whether that's clinical depression or that's a malaise of, it's too much, I can't do anything. And that lasts for a couple of days. But all of those patterns I've just explained, they're all considered part of trauma therapy or trauma approaches, or being trauma sensitive or trauma informed, to understand the nervous system from a trauma perspective. So you'll notice in the Mind Body Practitioner modules, I teach you a lot about the nervous system and the branches. And I mention trauma here and there and when you may need to refer. But ultimately, what I would like to do is create a separate, short, trauma-informed couple of modules to complement that, so that you can become trauma-informed, to notice the signs of trauma in the nervous system when it's dysregulated. Then you can help using felt sense and embodiment and building capacity and window of tolerance. Some of those aspects I'm including in the emotional regulation course at the moment, but it's not going to be trauma focused though. That's the difference. So essentially, I think if it's a little trauma and it's something that is popping up in certain patterns of behavior, that it's about building a sense of safety, which also can be mirrored with self-esteem and confidence and boundary setting, and providing someone the opportunity to develop their own voice, to align with their values, and to feel stronger in themselves, recognizing strengths and skills of past experience, so that they feel more confident to speak up and set those boundaries, or have those conversations, or make those hard decisions to remove those toxic people from their life. That then builds a greater sense of safety within their own nervous system, as well as stress management tools and breathing exercises and meditation. They all start to build that sense of safety and capacity in the nervous system, so that the person then will feel stronger to utilize what you're teaching them in their coaching to ultimately move forward. So you can still do a lot with the little T's, with everything that you're learning, without necessarily worrying too much about trauma, because we all have trauma, just in different ways. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. I look forward to those modules. Thank you.
Oh, me too. I'm so excited.